April 6th, 2016. Quote, "I will never forget the look in Steven Avery's eyes when he was being brought into the courthouse. I made up my mind that day that he was guilty." These are the words of the chairman of the Manitowoc County Board, no less. The chairman of the board, the top politician over there in Manitowoc County. That's not just some random person off the street with a crazy idea. That is the top politician. I'm quoting from an article by John Farrack, as I say, from April 6th, 2016. And this was part of a letter that he wrote to Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department detectives. Let me just read that again. That's absolutely amazing. "I made up my mind that day that he was guilty, purely by the look in Steven Avery's eyes, and wrote that to the detectives." Jim Bray, if that's all you've got to go on, you are seriously in trouble and deluded. I'll post the link to the article below. I don't think that we can place too much weight in Jim Bray's opinion, because like so many people in power there in Manitowoc, they are completely blinded by hatred. So I've got a wee friend with me today that you probably heard pattering along the floor there. So we'll keep Darcy quiet for a minute or two, hopefully. Kind of reminds me of a little bit like Barb when she said that, you know, she wishes that the Seventh Circuit judges could have met Brendan and spoke to him. You know, this Jim Bray, he's not even spoken to Steve. He's just gone by the look in Stephen's eye. Maybe, Jim, you need to actually go and speak to Steven Avery. I know people that have spoken to Steven Avery. I was speaking to a gentleman on Friday night who was spent literally hours and hours with Steven Avery. He's not some deluded member of a Steven Avery cult. Far from it. Pretty normal, regular kind of guy. And not only that, he, as he often says, he's not got any skin in the fight or any reason to to support Steve for any benefit to him. And yet he's completely convinced, like the rest of us, that Steven Avery is innocent. And it's funny, isn't it, how we get people who, that Woodpecker Woody that accused me of being he or she wrote a disciple, obviously meant a disciple, but spelling is not one of Woodpecker Woody's fortes. Apparently when asked at school to name something beginning with E that you're not very good at, they replied spelling. During my conversations with Herman, it's interesting, isn't it, when you get to speak to somebody for a long time, you get a much better idea. Jim, that would be a good idea. Go and visit Steve in prison. You'll get a much better idea of the sort of person that Steven Avery is. After a few conversations, he once said to me, "Now I know that you're not going to believe this. I know you're not going to accept this." And immediately I said, "Robert, I can tell the embarrassment in your voice. I can tell your embarrassment, that you are embarrassed about having to repeat the party line, the party rhetoric, which is that I have to keep repeating that, or there was really only 3 long searches. All the other searches, the other 4 searches that make up the 7 searches, they were just 10-minute sweeps." I could tell the embarrassment in your voice, Robert, when you said, I know you're not going to believe me, but some of those searches were just sweeps. It's like, well, but your officers spent literally hours, your crack detectives spent hours in that bedroom and only found the key on the third major search of the bedroom. I'm afraid that doesn't wash with anybody. That is a tiny bedroom, tiny bedroom. Anyway, the other thing he said that was quite funny was that the 1985 case was unfortunate. There was never, ever going to be from Robert Herman any kind of apology that Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department was sorry for having wrongfully convicted Steve the first time. It was unfortunate. I think we also discussed Brendan briefly at one point, and he actually alluded to the fact that yes, it may be unfortunate for Brendan that he had got caught up in things. So I'm left here thinking, well, you know, should we go with the top politician in Manitowoc, who judges people merely by the look in their eyes, or should we go with people who have actually had experience with these people? Also, I'm left with the fact that we've got guilters trying to convince us that things aren't completely wrong about this case, when we can see so many, 80 more things wrong with the case. So I got in touch with, obviously, Ken Kratz. He never answered one single awkward question. He simply replied with a question of his own, which was, why don't you buy my book? Simply avoiding. Now, when it comes to, is Steven Avery guilty or not? Well, I put strong emphasis, I would say, I put a very strong emphasis on the fact that I've met so many of you great supporters, spoken with you, talked online, etc., met you personally, met three of the greatest in Australia, met them again in Manitowoc and the rest of the Wrecking Crew, great supporters at the Rally House, great supporters at the courthouse, at the salvage yard. And I think what strikes us is the fact that we're all from all different ages, from different backgrounds, hugely different backgrounds. But the one thing that we all have in common is we all say, well, we support Kathleen Zellner because she's got experts that have proven that the evidence against Steve is, to use the proper technical term, wonky. Proper experts, world-leading experts, not your Leslie Eisenbergs and your Mark LeBeaus and your Nick Stalkys and your Norm Garns and your Tom Fallons. They're all like Dwayne Deaver. We're on about proper experts. And so I'm quite happy to say that as far as I'm concerned, one of the main reasons why I believe Steven Avery is innocent is because of the support that he's got from all you great supporters. So anyway, that's all we've got time for today. So cheerio, and we'll see you later. Bye for now.